So the past month has been pretty interesting for the overall stock market. We had a lot of selling going into the end of the month, and then I look at the stock market today and it's up big. And so I'll talk about that in a different video, but the whole point of this video is to talk about why I'm in 50% cash at this point, talk about the newest additions to my stock portfolio because I have two brand new ones, and then talk about what stocks I'm looking to buy going into March of 2021, because when you have this much cash on the side, you're going to be missing out if the market continues to chug along like it's been doing for like 12 months at this point. So today's video is just going to be talking about how I'm feeling about the overall stock market. I like doing this at the beginning of every month because it's a good way for me to go back and look at all the stocks I own, because I think it's very important to not just buy stocks and just be comfortable with them. I like analyzing them again at the beginning of every month just to see if anything's changed. And that's one of the reasons why I sold one of my stocks that I've owned for like 9 months at this point. So I'm going to give a reasoning why I did that and just talk about how I'm feeling about the overall market at this point. So this is what my portfolio has done in the past month. This is what my portfolio looked like at the beginning of February. General Electric, ticker symbol GE, was my largest position, and at this point things looked very different. Overall, my portfolio is up 9.5% through the month of February, and in February alone it was up 8%. So I had a very nice month overall. Compared to the overall stock market, the S&P is up 3.7% so far in 2020, and it was up 2.6% in February. So even though I'm very heavy in cash at this point, my portfolio has been outperforming the overall market by, at this point, it's almost 3-1. And that's the idea of investing in individual stocks. There's no reason to buy specific stocks and put yourself at higher risk. If individual stocks go down, the overall market, it's harder to move down. But if you're not going to be outperforming the overall stock market, it's not really worth the time and effort that it takes to find these new stocks, do the research on them, and then buy in. So it's very nice to see that even though my portfolio is very heavy in cash right now, I'm still outperforming the market. So let's talk about the stock that is no longer in my portfolio. That is Planet Fitness, ticker symbol PLNT. This was a stock that I bought in fall of 2020 because I thought it was a fantastic recovery play. And I am someone that does go to Planet Fitness, and I was sitting in the gym and I was like, this seems like a fantastic play. It's the idea that gyms, the airlines, restaurants are all going to be struggling during the pandemic, but when things recover, they're going to go back to normal relatively quickly. And so that was my idea. I bought in on September 21st at $55.69, and I sold on February 23rd at $80.70 for 45% profit overall. So why did I end up selling? Because this was a stock that has done very well for me over the past couple months. And every month when I make these videos, I like to sit and think if anything's changed about my overall plans. And when I made the video in February, I discussed that I no longer feel as strongly about the long-term future of Planet Fitness compared to how I did back in September. And so I only thought of this as being really a recovery play. And based off of what we've been seeing with the overall stock market, the optimism with the vaccine news, I thought this might be realistically as high as it'll go. Also, looking at the charts, I thought it was at a very solid resistance. And I thought without a catalyst, it was going to be very difficult for these stock to continue moving up. And now hindsight is 2020. When I put up the chart right now, it is pushed way past that resistance that we were talking about. Now it's at another one. So even if I didn't sell out on the 23rd, I probably would have sold out at this point right now, just because, yes, it's possible for the stock to continue climbing. We've seen that with the overall market, that some of these places like the airlines are above their pre-pandemic highs. But realistically, I don't see any reason why Planet Fitness should be doing better than it was back in February of 2020. And so it just so happened that I wasn't feeling as confident about Planet Fitness as the overall market was falling at the beginning of last week. So as the market was having a pretty big red day, I finally sold out of Planet Fitness to get rid of this position because I felt like it had already achieved and actually exceeded the expectations that I had when I took the position. 2, I wanted to have more cash in my portfolio to take advantage of the market falling, because we have seen a lot of the tech stocks falling, and I'm going to talk about which stocks I'm kind of eyeing going into March. And then I just like having a lot of my portfolio in cash. It gives me a lot of opportunities, and even though I think in the past couple months I've had my portfolio between like 15 and 30% in cash, this is the most amount of cash I've had in my portfolio in a long time. And part of that is because I was waiting for the market to fall. Also, it had to do with Friday being an options day, and having Friday be the last Friday of the month. It meant that a lot of my positions got closed out on Friday morning, and I have opened some. But one of the main things that got taken away from me is my favorite stock of 2021, General Electric. It looks like I don't have that much owned at this point. I do have naked shares, and then I also have a call that I bought. But the reason that it doesn't look like I own that much of it is because the covered call that I had sold on the position, since GE has gone up 17% in the month of February, my covered call was in the money and my 100 shares got taken away from me. So I'm just going to be starting the wheel strategy all over again. But based off of how my portfolio looked at the end of February, it does look like I don't own that much GE, but I have since reopened a new position with the wheel, and I am long the shares and the call. So nothing has changed with my position on General Electric. It just looks kind of funky because my option expired on the same day that I do these recap videos. So let's talk about the newest additions to my portfolio, because I did buy 2 new stocks in February and I made a video talking about them. I bought Brookfield Renewable, ticker symbol BEP, and the solar ETF TAN. tan, the sun. I think it's hilarious. But usually when I buy into stocks, if I can't get in at a very good spot that looks like a fantastic entry on the charts, I will take a much smaller position than I normally would because I am mainly a technical trader. I like basing my trades off of what's going on with the overall charts. And I definitely had an emotional response to the need for renewable energy, and I bought in. And so whenever I do this, I understand that it's an emotion-based trade, so I take a smaller than normal position. I usually call them feeler positions. These are ones that make me feel good about buying in right now, but I'm not putting myself at significant risk by buying away from a support because I like buying when I have the best opportunity. And since I bought into these stocks, they are down like 6% at this point, but that's the whole reason for taking this feeler position. If the stock market just shot up, I would have made a decent amount of money from them. But I plan on adding these positions, especially in the upcoming days and probably the rest of this month, as renewables have been hit pretty hard in the past couple weeks. 3 out of 4 of my renewable energy plays have been down in the past month. And then General Electric has just been doing really well as a fantastic recovery play, especially with the airline stuff. But my plan for this month with these renewable energy stocks is to continue to add to these positions and lower my average cost. These are stocks that I feel very strongly about, and while I did not get the best entry overall, nothing has changed with my mindset and the love of these companies. So as we get into the rest of the month, if I see that they're having a pretty big down day, I'll likely be buying in and try to lower my average cost and increase my position size overall, because as of right now, they are relatively small positions compared to what I normally take. As I mentioned, that's why I call them feeler positions. So looking at my overall portfolio in the month of February, the stock that really carried the rest of my portfolio was Southwest Airlines, ticker symbol LUV. That was up 32% in the month of February and is now my largest position since I sold those 100 shares of General Electric after the covered call got taken from me. So as of right now, Southwest Airlines is the biggest part of my portfolio. Looking at the charts, it is sitting at a resistance that's pretty close to where we started the pandemic. And I get a lot of comments asking, do I think something like a Southwest Airlines has potential to go higher? As of right now, I'm going to be holding and I'm not going to be selling out at this point. If I felt the same way about Southwest Airlines as I did with Planet Fitness, I'd be selling my position right now. I do feel very strongly that Southwest Airlines is the best positioned airline company. And unlike a Planet Fitness or a gym that I think will go back to normal, I think we're going to be seeing a surge in demand with the airline industry after things start opening up and the vaccine rollout gets further along, as a lot of people have been postponing travel, have not been able to see family members. And so I think as we get into the warmer months, hopefully as the pandemic starts to ease up slightly, I think we're going to see a very high level of demand. And I think Southwest Airlines still has a long way to go for the upside. So at this point, Southwest Airlines is going to be a long-term play for me for sure. And I don't plan on selling it anytime soon, even though it does seem kind of ridiculous that it's back to pre-pandemic levels, even though things are not fully opened yet. But at this point, I still feel very strongly about Southwest Airlines and I will be holding my position. So what am I thinking about buying going into March? Because I do have almost 50% of my portfolio sitting in cash. So far this morning, I did not include it on the video because it is March 1st. I did start a new wheel strategy for GE, so that's a decent amount of my funds. I think that brings me down to like 35% cash. And the things I'm really going to be looking for are going to be adding to the renewable energy positions that I mentioned earlier. Stuff like NextEra Energy, ticker symbol NEE, Brookfield Renewable, ticker symbol BEP, and the solar ETF TAN, TAN. Some of the other places I'm going to be looking is, especially if the overall market falls. We've been seeing tech stocks sell off pretty aggressively going into the end of February. And I talked about why I thought some of these stocks would be fantastic opportunities if they fell further. I made a video talking about these stocks that I'm looking to buy, and I'll link that above right now. But the whole premise is, at the beginning of a market correction, if you think that's going to be happening, I personally think the best place to be buying has to do with the blue chip stocks that it's very uncommon to be able to get them at a discount. So that's why I'm looking at adding to positions that are already started, stuff like an Apple, ticker symbol AAPL, or Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT, because these are stocks that it is very unusual for them to be at a discount. So these are positions that I've already opened in the past, and I'd like to be adding to my position over time, even though it's going to be hurting my average cost. It's going to push it up. But these are stocks that I'd love to own for pretty much the rest of my life. So anytime I can get it at a discount, I think it's a great idea. And then the new stocks that I'm looking to add, if the market falls further, are some of my favorites that I've been mentioning for the past 6 to 9 months. The first one I'm looking at has to do with Lululemon, ticker symbol LULU. I made a video on Thursday talking about that, and I'll link that above right now. But their earnings report is coming up at the end of this month, and if things go poorly, I think the expectations are at an unrealistic level. And I'm very excited to hear what they're talking about with their new fitness company, Mirror, which they acquired back this past summer. And so I'm very excited to see what the numbers look like coming out of that. And if things fall, I think that this is a fantastic play. I'm going to be looking to buy in there. Looking to buy into something like a Beyond Meat. It does go along with my green initiatives. So I really like Beyond Meat if I can get it at a discount. But looking at the chart, it's kind of been all over the place. And then the last place I'm looking to buy has to do with Peloton, ticker symbol PTON, that has been sliding. And I think it's been one of the worst performing members of the S&P 500 so far in 2021. And this is a stock that did incredibly well in 2020, and if I can get it at a discount, I will happily do that. And so if things continue to fall further, there's a lot of opportunities to be had. But right now, just kind of waiting to see, because the market has been all over the place. We've had some very big red days. The market opens after a long weekend and it's very green. It's going to be a very interesting month to see what happens, especially as we get the vaccine rollout further and to see if some of the expectations and the guidance for some of these companies are going to start getting released and go back to normal levels compared to what we've been seeing in the past year, where the expectations have been lowered so much because of the pandemic, and we have not seen this growth in earnings, but the prices have been going up. So I think March is going to be a very interesting month for the overall stock market, and I am in 50% cash, which means I have a lot of chances to take advantage of some potential drops that we see in the overall market. So let me know what stocks you guys have bought in the month of February, and let me know what stocks you guys are watching going into March of 2021. Thanks for watching this video. I appreciate all support, and I will see you next time.